delighted that you're able to join us today for this really important event for us in culminating and bringing together our work. As you can see, I'm going to just do a brief introduction to the overall project and perhaps just give you the top line overview of what we consider to be our major achievements on the project. Women Adding Value to the Economy, or WAVE, has been a 3-year programme from 2012 to 2015, funded by the European Social Fund through the Welsh Government. And we're extremely grateful for the funding that's enabled us to do things that we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. The programme has been led by a partnership of the University of South Wales as the lead partner, Cardiff University and the Women's Workshop Project BAWZO. And I think at this point I'd just like to stop for a minute and say what a privilege it's been to work with our partners, and I'm really grateful to have had this opportunity. The aim of WAVE, as some of you will have heard over and over again, I should think, those of you who've had a connection with our project, has been a really important one and something that has had the absolute commitment of everyone on the project team. So our aim has been to tackle the underlying issues that contribute to gender pay inequalities in Wales in employment and self-employment. I think it's quite important to think how we've actually tackled this, because we've been quite a different kind of project to many others. This hasn't been one project that's done one thing that everybody else has then followed through. We have actually had interrelated and targeted activities involving different target groups: employers, employees, self-employed women, and all our associated stakeholders. And I think it's also important to recognise that each one of the partners has brought a specific expertise to address this complex problem. And each of the partners has taken responsibility for leading the activities relevant to their respective objectives and target groups.
I'm going to share some of the learning from the last 3 years with you. Some of you will have heard some of this before. It's really nice to see some of our employers here and also our Gender Employment and Pay Network members. And I just want to look back at what we've done, some messages for you to take away, I hope, to including your policy making and your work within your own employments in future, and also talk a little bit about what we might do next. So we've got this complex issue around the way gender shapes society, our individual behaviour, and our participation in the economy. So men will be doing different kind of jobs, unpaid labour, different systems of value and reward applied to men and women. So complex stuff affecting all of us individually, our behaviour within organisations, organisational behaviour, leading to these pay gaps, which are announced every November, and I think currently in Wales it's about 17%. So not something you can fix necessarily within 3 years. We have a fantastic basis for this in Wales because we have this unique equal pay duty, the only part of the UK that requires public sector organisations to report on their gender pay gap each year and have an action plan telling the EHRC and the Welsh Government what they're going to do about acting on their pay gap.
We've been working, our strand has concentrated really on occupational segregation that contributes to the gender pay gap. We worked with employed women living or working in convergence, as everyone knows about European Social Fund, and employers based in convergence. We concentrated on the ICT and construction sectors, and these were really chosen because of the knowledge and previously delivery experience that the Women's Workshop had. I mean, it may not have been in convergence, and it was based in Cardiff, but that was our experience. Our strategy In ICT, women only make up 19% of tech professionals and just 11% of the construction workforce. And this has remained static over a number of years now. The plan was to deliver a number of interventions on a number of levels and to work with individual women, companies and various intermediaries. And one of those interventions was training, which we either delivered ourselves or via contract through procurement. The first one was the Postgraduate Strategic ICT Leadership Programme. This was aimed at non-technical women managers working within SMEs and was delivered by contract through Edinburgh and Napier University. This included modules such as software project management, leadership, and more interesting for us was half of the diploma was awarded on a work-based learning module. And this module was an IT project that had to be directly related to that woman's workplace. There was a level 3 digital graphics editing and website development program that was aimed at women working within admin roles who wanted to extend their technical knowledge and possibly switch into technical careers, which again is something that Alison's mentioned from her much larger employer's work. And an ILM Level 3 Mentoring Award that was aimed at women working in the ICT and construction sectors.
I'm Rachel Davis. I am the BE Group Project Manager for the Construction Futures Wales programme now, but I'm going to just take you back very briefly. Nearly 2 years ago, I was sent an email flyer about this course. My colleagues forwarded it on to me and said, I think we should go, and I think we should go and see what they say. And I said, there's no point in me going. I've only got one A level. They're not going to be interested in me doing a master's level qualification. There's no chance I'll get on it. And we went, and we did, fortunately for me. So I was formerly a business ICT analyst for the Wales Cooperative Centre at that time, and the course offered me a unique opportunity to take my technical knowledge. I actually approached it slightly differently to everyone else because I was coming from a technical standpoint rather than non-technical standpoint. And it allowed me to develop my leadership and management skills, but using my own day-to-day work and experience as a material for research and for analysis while I was doing the course. So having spent years supporting other organisations to manage their own strategic development projects, I actually found myself creating one of my own, which was through the work-based learning module, which was hugely beneficial to my organisation. As a direct result, I now view things very differently, I work very differently. I can link both my technical knowledge and the leadership aspects required together, which has been very helpful with projects that I've been working on since. I've learned how to critically analyse and reflect, which is something I didn't know how to do before, and I feel personally huge growth as a leader, and it broadened my horizons in terms of employment. I no longer I feel like I have to stick to my own field of experience with the work and the jobs that I've been looking for. I had to look for new work in January because our contracts with the Wales Cooperative Centre came to an end, and rather than just looking for the same old job that I've normally looked for, I actually had the confidence to look for something a little bit different, take the skills I'd learned from the course and start looking for things that were a bit beyond what I felt was my field of expertise. So now I had the opportunity obviously to take these very transferable skills to another level, and I now find myself in the construction sector, which is not what I expected at all. So now I have a foot in both camps. And I've actually been able to use that and benefit from many of the other aspects of the WAVE programme, the networking both in the Women in ICT and in the Women in Construction. Women thrive in an environment where we can grow and share and learn from each other. It brings out the best in us, I feel. It certainly has brought out the best in me, particularly with the group learning days on the course, where I was able to sit with a room full of other women at a similar level and actually share our thoughts, our ideas, how we do things, how we approach things was just as beneficial as actually the module content itself.
Borita, good morning. Very pleased to see you all. I'm delighted to be here this morning because it does give us all, and you've already been celebrating a bit, I think that's the spirit of atmosphere that I'm picking up, but celebrating the achievements of the WAVE project. And of course that project has helped further our understanding of gender differences and inequalities in the labour market in Wales and how we can overcome them. I'd particularly like to thank the University of South Wales, Cardiff University and the Women's Workshop at Bowso for all their hard work since the project began, and I know the last 3 years have gone very quickly indeed, and you've made a great impact, and you've been hearing about the impact on people, on women's lives, which is of course what really does demonstrate the important achievements of this WAVE project. I'd particularly like to just personally congratulate Alice and Laura and Christine, of course all leaders, women leaders I would call you in Wales, who've really helped to make WAVE happen and work so effectively. I want to just start by saying a couple of words about putting this into the WAVE project and what you've achieved into the wider EU context, very topical of course at the moment. The Welsh Government's committed to Wales being an active partner in Europe, and I do believe that the benefits of EU membership are of fundamental importance to the UK and Wales. Wales has benefited from EU funds for many years, but particularly benefited from those funds which have focused on tackling gender inequalities and gender differences.
Strand 3 has all been about encouraging female in self-employment and female entrepreneurs. I'm only going to talk for a few minutes. I'll then be handing over to other people who've been involved in our strand. I just wanted to say a little bit about our starting point. Why have we been focusing on women in self-employment, women in entrepreneurship? Mainly because despite years of encouragement, despite years of us trying to do something about this, women are still outnumbered in entrepreneurship by men by about 2 to 1.
If you look at the title, this is the title of the research document that we're finalising right now. It's 30,000 words plus and counting, so obviously the next 10 minutes are very much of a snapshot. Changing the Conversation is a very deliberate title. Obviously it fits in with the idea of the national conversation, but it's also about undertaking research in a different way than has been conducted a lot of the time in the past. So what we've done is highlight that the research approach is emphasising the qualitative over the quantitative to get really in depth on some of the reasons behind the issues that women face when it comes to self-employment. And to use, therefore, the quantitative element to support that, to give it the background, but not for it to become the dominant force. So we don't take the approach of the comparison between the male and the female. We focus very much on female data and look at that within the convergence area compared with non-convergence area and compared with other parts of the UK. And that's the approach we've taken, rather than the traditional male-female treating gender as an independent variable. When we looked at the research, what came out of it were 3 very strong individual micro-level issues that were affecting the decisions. If I just sort of show you the diagram here, you can kind of see it within here. That can be related into the motivations to start up the business, the concept of success, and the idea of being taken seriously. These were very strong micro-level issues that kept coming up time after time after time, and we thought that actually these could be identified and added to the 5M framework and create sort of a micro-level element to that micro, meso, macro activity. So in terms of the motivations, again, it wasn't a simple story.
Hello, so my name's Leslie and I own an internationally bespoke company called PP Stitch, which is a teddy bear brand, which I've been growing for the past 19 months now. Before joining WAVE, I was one of your typical statistics that we've been hearing about this morning. I was stuck in part-time work, undervalued, and even when I went on to becoming self-employed, I carried on undervaluing my work. And that was for a whole number of reasons, but particularly revolving competence as well. So I'm here to mostly talk about network, and I know Helen's talking about role modelling. So my experiences with networking when I first got onto the course was I had no idea. I had no idea. I didn't understand the value of networking whatsoever. I didn't know how it would benefit me. I had very little confidence, as I said, it really was in the gravel. So I went in with an open mind, and I was introduced to a group of inspirational women, including Helen here. And these women became not just my peers, but my friends, my mentors, and my role models, really, which is quite emotional when I think back. Yeah, no, I'm not allowed to cry. But I really have gone on a huge journey with Wave. So through this course, I had a wonderful, nurturing environment and an empowering environment where I was allowed to grow in my own time. And in that time, my confidence grew. My family and friends, everyone noticed a complete change in me. I became a completely different person altogether. And that empowered me then to start becoming involved with networks outside of my classroom. So I got involved with Waves, with the networking events there. And similarly, a really lovely, nurturing environment where I was able to be myself and to talk to other women and share ideas and inspiration, which was just brilliant.
All of the things that I experience about gender barriers, stereotyping, people not taking me seriously, just water off a duck's back. I've got 19 people's worth of confidence, doesn't bother me in the slightest. Tell me I can't do it, I'll go under it, round it, through it, I can do anything I want to. I don't do barriers. And I suddenly met all of these women who said things like, I'd never go to a networking event if there was a man there. And I was just floored by it. I just couldn't believe the fact that these people were experiencing such barriers, and the course was just amazing because it showed people that with support and role models and networks and mentors, there are ways. Whether your confidence is up there or down there, with programs like Wave, you can really, really make a difference.
I was going to say what really struck me about today was the notion, or not the notion, the fact that a high percentage of women have gone through this process and are earning $7,000 a year more. That's a change you can take to the bank, literally. You know, and as Jane Hutt was saying, what that means is it means something to their families, their communities. Maybe they can spend more time with their children because now they can afford to let their husbands go part-time. You know, there's all kinds of really serious changes that can happen when women finally, somebody says to them, actually, you can do this and you should do this. So that's fantastic.
Today's been the final dissemination event of the WAVE programme, Women Adding Value to the Economy. And after 3 years of hard work, ups and downs, thrills and spills, we finally got to a point where we wanted to disseminate some of the amazing learnings and findings that have derived from the project. And we also wanted just to celebrate what had been achieved and to introduce the various stakeholders of the project together. Some people have had more of an affinity with some areas of the project than others, and we wanted to bring everybody together to show one whole project so that people could learn from one another and hear from each other. It's been fantastic. It's been the celebration that we wanted it to be, as well as sharing our findings, our research, what we've done, the number of women who've gone through the programme, hearing about the amount of pay increases that some of our participants have achieved. We've also heard directly from participants, and we've been a party to some of their enthusiasm and their determination to continue into the future. It was always intended to be a pilot project. So the things we've been concentrating on are trying to develop models that could be replicated elsewhere or that could be taken forward. So we now have a number of tools and techniques that people can use in employing organisations that can be used in respect of helping the self-employed women, women entrepreneurs, women in employment. And what we hope is that we continue our work and deepen it and strengthen it, but also that other people are able to take up the models and use them themselves.
I think it's hugely beneficial, particularly in technical industries. I think women, as I said earlier, when we were talking in the conference, that we thrive in an environment where we can network and talk and share ideas and share experiences in an environment where we feel comfortable, where we feel like we're equals and we're able to give each other ideas and help and assistance, as well as with the learning. And I think that's a hugely beneficial thing to any type of industry, where you can create that environment where people feel that they can actually talk to each other and share that experience and don't feel threatened by doing so. It's been pivotal in my life.
in terms of the job that I now do, and going from an environment where I felt that I'd reached my capacity and I'd reached my limit, but they were actually limits that I'd put in place myself. They were limits that I'd created, and then having the opportunity to sort of explore new ways of doing things and to look at the way that I undertook things, and then see that actually I could do things differently and I could reach that bit further and I could look for other types of work, which I did, and it's made an enormous difference to my life anyway.
One of our staff members actually went on the ICT leadership programme and undertook that and has actually completed her diploma. And then following that, we were asked if we wanted to get involved in looking at our equality and diversity policies and programme of embedding that equality, and also then our leadership and training, learning and development programmes. So we've now got a learning and development strategy, which we're hoping to embed across the organisation. We've looked at our equality and diversity, and we're going to be looking especially at unconscious bias, which is about what we do for our workforce in the future. So yeah, we've got lots of things.
I'm here today because I've taken part in the WAVE project. The angle which I've come in was from the ILM Mentoring Level 3. So I've just completed the ILM Level 3 mentoring scheme. I was speaking earlier and I mentioned in conjunction with the mentoring scheme, I've also run a project called Women in Roofing Management, WIRMS is the acronym for that. And it's worked out really well because with that project, we've been able to go out and meet the members of our companies and help them with mentoring as well. So the skills I've learned through WAVE has benefited me through this project to go out and mentor other ladies within the roofing industry.